Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And let's be honest, success is hard to define. And more importantly, it's just, we need all of these things internally first before anything else happens. And so I'm going to have a great conversation with my guest today. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Judith Wright to our program. Welcome, Dr. Wright. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm so glad to be with you. Thanks, Deb.
Great. Well, let me tell folks a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Dr. Judith Wright, named America's Ultimate Expert by Women's World magazine, is known for her expertise in human potential, leadership, and emotional intelligence. She is the CEO and co-founder of LiveWright, dedicated to helping people achieve whole life success. It's important. We're going to talk about that. A dynamic speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author, Dr. Wright has spent decades helping leaders break through limiting patterns, unlock their fullest potential, and create purpose-driven lives and businesses. She also co-founded the Wright Graduate University for Realization of Human Potential, granting master's and doctoral degrees in transformational leadership and coaching, and she has an MBA in transformational business. Dr. Wright has appeared in over 1,000 media outlets, including some of these little guys: Oprah, Good Morning America, and ABC's 2020. Her acclaimed books include Transformed, The Neuroscience of Changing Your Life for the Better, Forever, The Heart of the Fight, and The Soft Addiction Solution. So again, Dr. Wright, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I always like to ask my guests, how did you get to where you are today? Because you have had quite the distinguished and rewarding career.
Well, it's always a long, winding story about these kinds of things, but maybe I can pick up a few themes to where I am now. I think, Deb, like always, I really wondered about how do you live a good life? Even as a kid, I was like, wait, I grew up in a factory town. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and people working the assembly line. And I'm like, okay, but is that it? Is that the only option? And I really always wanted more in my life and didn't quite know how to do that. So it's been my quest. I learned how to study, get good grades, get early career success, that kind of thing. But along that journey, I realized, and we'll talk more about that, I hope, that's not all there is. And it took me a long time to sort that out. So it was on my own journey of really wait, what does make a satisfying life? What does it take? So my research was really looking at who are these people that do live great lives, who have a really good relationship with themselves, have intimacy with others, their career success, many of them building businesses, and they're beautiful businesses they're ongoing and growing. They naturally become leaders. They're contributing to their communities or the world, however that they have the bigger sense of purpose. And what are they doing? And if we could figure out what they're doing, could I then teach that to everybody so we all could get those results? And that's been my burning passion in my life. And that research was revelatory for me. It explained a lot of things about my own life, but also gave direction. And we've been able to parlay that into our coaching, consulting, and training that we do at LiveWright. I also am in business with my husband, which is a whole nother beautiful adventure. But that's our combined mission, is to really live those lives and really give people the skills to build their lives, build their businesses, even build their families, build their relationships in a way that has this beautiful quality. So it's been my lifelong journey, and it's unfolded. You said a little bit in my bio that we had a foundation that we founded. We founded an accredited graduate university, which was a wild adventure to do. And now we're doing this all through LiveWright, but really finding all the ways we can to give people those tools, those skills to live really wonderful lives.
Right. I love that. I actually wrote down husband on my notes because wanted to ask what it's like to work with your husband in such a challenging but worthwhile organization.
It's a really good question. It's phenomenal. It's wonderful. It's a huge blessing, and it's tough, and we fight and we work things out, but it really is part of our own. We both had brother-sister businesses for a while, and
Okay.
he sold one of his companies, one of his businesses, and he told me he wanted to go into business with me. I did not want to go into business with him. That set off a 2-year fight. But this is a good thing. What I mean by that is that why didn't I want to go into business with him? What
Right.
were my thoughts? What were our disagreements? How did I see the world differently than he? And so we had these conscious fights about really understanding each other, what our missions were, how we do things. And it culminated in a fight in the middle of the night in a Paris cafe where we came up with, it was a good way to actually, but really like, wow, we really want the same things. We have the same mission. Our values are very aligned. We go about it differently. And we found an umbrella of our business that includes all of that. And we're so much stronger because of it. And in fact, our last book, he and I wrote the last 2 books together. So writing books together and running a business together and being in a relationship. But it's great. That book is called The Heart of the Fight. Um, it's a couple's guide to 15 common fights, what they really mean, and how they can bring you closer. And that's been our experience. It brought us closer. We fight full out, but fairly, and resolve things and come up with better solutions than either one of us would have. And I've learned so much from him, and he says he's learned the same from me.
Right. And I love that you have embraced the differences.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm getting ready to do an interview, I go to somebody's website and now I ask AI, suggest questions that I can ask my podcast guest. And all I put in there was Dr. Wright. And your husband is Dr. Wright also.
Yes, you're right.
And AI actually asked me which one because it recognized that you had different opinions.
Interesting.
And I thought that was very interesting because it went, oh yes, well it's the Mrs. Dr. Wright.
Right. I know. Wow. But yeah, we are he's more traditionally masculine, more traditionally feminine, but we certainly blend that. But we have, and that's the richness of it. We have really different perspectives. I love that AI even caught on to that.
I
That's
know.
great.
It was like, which one?
I know. I love it.
But cool. Well, we were talking about success and the definition of it. And I was remembering, excuse me, way back, we won't say how long ago it was, my 10-year high school reunion. That is a long time ago. But I was, of course, understandably one of the organizers, right? Now it was very small. I had a class of 32. And so, this was it was great fun. And we knew where most everybody was, all sorts of things. But I'm working with another young woman on this. And at high school reunions, you give out awards. Who's got the most kids? Who's done this? Who came the furthest? All those things. And she said, oh, well, we have to do who's the most successful. And I said, well, how do we determine that? And she said, well, who makes the most? I said, really? How do we determine that? I mean, I ain't asking that one. And I said, no. I said, because now I pretty much knew who was the person making the most. I mean, just based on who they were. And
Right.
and I certainly would have considered her a success. I still do. But, I told the other organizer, I said, how do we know that the person who is the most, and in my little air quotes, successful isn't the person who, even though we only graduated 10 years ago, has 3 kids, 2 jobs, and just thinks life is great, right? Because success is individually defined.
Well said. And that you knew that at that age is really wonderful.
And we didn't give out the award, by the way.
I wonder if I'm going to ask you, did you actually, who did you award that to now? Well, we do think of success as a career achievement, money earned, accolades, and not like that can't be included in the formula. That's totally fine. But what I found in my own life, and I can tell you more about that, but also so many people that I coach, they come to us and many of them are extremely successful in the way the world would see that. Or they maybe graduated from Ivy League schools and they built their businesses and they're doing professionally, they're well known and they'd be thought leaders and making lots of money and making bigger differences. And that's wonderful. I don't want to say anything bad about that, because it's actually really wonderful. But they come with all of that, many of them, and say, okay, but something's missing. In fact, that was the title of my first book, There Must Be More Than This. It's like, because that's that sense. They didn't have that sense of fulfillment, because there's really is something missing. And that's really what I wanted to go about finding out. It's like, what is that, and what is success? And maybe go into a little bit more of my own story, Deb, but that's okay, and kind of my own discovery about that. All right. So I told you I was really trying to get this more out of life as a kid. And I did, I learned how to work hard, meet my goals, study, get good grades, valedictorian, all the
All
students
those things that good
all
little
those things,
girls are supposed to do.
all those good girl things, and did that. And did the same thing in my early career. I'd risen to national prominence in 2 different careers by the time I was about 28 or 29. So I knew how to set goals, meet them, really perform. And I'm at this stage in my life, and I'm looking at like, okay, this is great. And I was also doing service. I was really doing some beautiful work. I started a program for college students with disabilities to be able to attend college. It was one of the first in the country before we knew how to do that. And I started another program for little children with developmental disabilities and their families to get a good start in life. Again, these were kind of projects. There's 3 in the country in both of these. Everybody's looking, okay, how do we do this? And that's my job to figure that out. So I'm doing service, I'm doing things that are making a contribution. I'm being successful. I'm getting recognized. All these things are happening. But inside, something didn't feel right. I felt very dead inside, kind of an empty feeling. And I thought, okay, well, what's missing? Well, I was overweight. So I said, okay, that's it. I'm fat. And that's why I'm not happy.
I'll fix that.
I'll fix that. So I went on food plan, lost weight. So now I'm successful and thin and empty. So that didn't work. It wasn't it. And I said, oh, I know. It's a guy. I have to have a relationship, and then I'll be happy.
And the 1.5 children in the dog.
Yes, right. The picket fence and the house, whatever. Like, I'm trying to do the formula. And I got in a relationship with my college sweetheart at the time, who looked like Sylvester Stallone in those early Rocky movies and had this genius IQ. And I'm like, yeah, dang, I've got it. I got it all. Beth is like, oh, I've got it all. The picture's complete. And it wasn't a good relationship. I had a lot to learn there, but really it was, this wasn't it. And I'm like, now I'm kind of feeling kind of desperate at this time in a way, because wait, I have like 60 more years of this? Is this what life is? And that can't be right. And then I just tried to escalate everything. Maybe if I were more successful, or tried harder, or been more perfect, or been more cool, or whatever, or if I partied more, whatever that was, to try to, and it just escalated the emptiness. And I'm realizing there's really something missing here, and I couldn't figure it out because I thought I had the formula. And my friends are saying, oh, you're so lucky. And I probably was at so many levels, but I didn't feel it inside. And that was kind of my beginning wake up to this whole thing. And luckily, what happened for me is that the people I was working with gave me clues about things, because I realized that, I love the college students I was dealing with, and they're people who had they were deaf and blind and paraplegic, quadriplegic, had all kinds of situations they were dealing with. And these little children with developmental disabilities and their families really having to do the tough work of, they didn't get the child they thought they were going to have, and really kind of mourn that loss so they could open their hearts to the child they were given, which was a beautiful, tough, beautiful process. So I'm watching all this, and I'm looking around, and I'm realizing that some of these students and some of these families were a lot more fulfilled than I was. And were actually happier than I. And I'm like, wow. I thought if you had the perfect mind, perfect body, perfect circumstances, then that meant happiness. They didn't have perfect minds, bodies, circumstances. And there was a quality of life that not all, but many, many of them had. And like, wow, I've been following the wrong formula. There's something missing here. And I realized then, what's really kind of dawned on me that there was something about them. And part of it was that, for the college students, for example, that they were so many of them were so genuine. Like, when they were upset, you knew it. And when they were at a success, it was a celebration. And there was an authenticity, a realness, a presence in the moment, and experiencing life at a level that I was too cool for. I was really trying to hold it all together, be perfect, whatever. Then I said, no, no, no. I'm like, I am sick of sleepwalking through my life. I'm going to feel my life. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to be here in this moment. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure that out. And that kind of began my quest. And that spurred my research and really seeing what is that? What is missing? And then I saw my own pattern in so many people that came to us for coaching and training and in our consulting business as well, and realized that there is something really missing. Our emotions were one thing, being real, being really in here and now in the moment and feeling. But there's something, and I'll go into, we can talk about a little bit later too, but I realized that people in my research, people that really live these really satisfying, fulfilling lives are guided by something different. And I ended up in the research calling it our yearnings, those deeper longings on our heart that we all have, Deb. It's the yearning to be seen and heard, to
Right.
love and be loved, to make a difference. And that's what they listened to and followed that, not what the formula was, not what society says, not what their parents told them, not what they think is a good idea, but what resonates deep in their heart. And the people that follow that find a level of fulfillment. And the outside of my life might have looked the same, but the inside was very different. And life really started shifting for me as I followed that. And that's what I see in the people that we work with as well.
I love it. And how much of it, and you alluded to this, is when we compare ourselves to others. And we're always going to come up short in some way.
Oh, absolutely.
Or if we think we're better, then the little thing says, ooh, well, that's egotistical.
Yeah.
And social media makes it worse, right?
Oh my God.
People are, people post the good, the bad, things like that. But for many, they are posting just the good.
Yeah.
And so then when we compare ourselves, we do come up short.
And we always will, because it's always going to be somebody does something better than us in some arenas of life, and the thing nobody can do better than us is to be us. Being ourselves fully, developing ourselves fully, realizing our potential fully is an inside job. And we can compete, but with our past self, with our former accomplishments or former ways of doing things. And part of it is, I think, developing a growth mindset where when you do see someone better than you, rather than put yourself down for it or negatively measure that or have jealousies and envies or want to put them down so you feel better or something.
Right. Oh, there must be something wrong with that.
Right. I just don't know. No, but to really look at, to be inspired by them, and how, if that matters to me, then how can I be better at this? What can I do? Be inspired by it rather than put down by it. If we are going to look at it, that's the way to look at it.
Right. Yeah. And as we're recording this, it happens to be Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And, I think that's one of the things that is something that we even if we don't join the military or things like that, that level of service, I think is something. And, but then I saw something on somebody's Facebook page today. Now, she is not happy with how the United States is right now. And I actually know her in real life, and she's not shy about, saying it. And, it's the 250th anniversary.
Yes.
And she said, I can't celebrate that now. And now she would honor my opinion, so we wouldn't have any problem. But I thought, but there's so much else that we need to honor. And, but it is that, giving back, and sometimes, for somebody going and picking up trash is going to make their day, right?
Totally.
It doesn't have to be that they founded some gazillion-dollar company.
No.
It comes back to you and what is right for you, and not comparing yourself to everyone else.
No, it's really good, but most of us don't know to spend our attention on ourselves in that way, to really look at what matters and what are my values and what is that and how do I orient my life. And it really does take a little introspection and some support and some help to really look at that. And I think it's important. And what we found, and I also know a lot of people, Deb, that do have this greater sense of purpose. They have socially inclined businesses. They're giving back. They're doing beautiful things. But that doesn't mean that they have that inside fulfillment or success either, because it's all out here, and the purpose is outside of themselves. And what we've found is that when you follow these deeper yearnings, it's like your purpose in the moment. Like you and I have a purpose right now I have a yearning to be seen, to heard, to contribute, to matter, hopefully to make a difference. That's what's running me. right now, and that's in this moment, but that's my purpose right now. And what I find is by following that in the moment, the bigger purposes kind of unfold. They reveal themselves. We don't have to we don't all have to save the whales unless that's our calling,
Right.
it's then fine. But that in the moment, there always is this deeper sense of fulfillment. And it starts with what you care about, but that automatically helps you be more in touch with the yearnings of others and to really be able to be more aware and to contribute, but not sacrificially, not where you're giving everything to
Right.
everyone, but you're actually getting filled yourself, and then you have more to give to others.
Right. And I think that is something that we see with both men and women is we over give. And I tell people I operate on the airplane philosophy. You have to put your mask on first before you can help anyone else. And that might really be hard because the person that needs help might really 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 need help. But if you aren't helping yourself first, ultimately you cannot help them.
No, it's really true. You don't have it. You don't have it to give anymore. Have you ever run into the whole concept of the drama triangle?
Yeah. Oh, I
No,
love
so
this.
it's fascinating, and it's kind of a way to look at this, and it's from transactional analysis, which is Eric Berne, but one of his students, Stephen Cartman, started studying how people interact. He said so often we get in what he called the drama triangle. We play one of three roles. We either are the rescuer, which is what we're starting to talk about, the victim, or a persecutor. And we unconsciously fall into these roles all the time. So the victim feels, it's all of us when we feel sorry for ourselves or life feels overwhelming or whatever that is, or we want something to change, or it's that my boss's fault or my company or my employees or the government or the weather, something
Right.
is the problem. The persecutor, it doesn't, puts the blame onto others, and the rescuer takes responsibility for things that are not his or
I'm going
hers.
to fix it.
Yes, I'm going to fix it. It's mine. I'm the hero. Da, 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 and a lot of people, I have that. I'm a professional rescuer, when I have to watch.
And we don't want people to hurt. So what can you do to
No,
help them?
I know, and it's not wrong to want to help, but the issue is in those three roles, no one's taking the proper amount of responsibility. The victim's not taking 100% responsibility to shift things. The persecutor's putting the responsibility onto others, and the rescuer is taking responsibility that's not theirs. And what that does, it drains you, takes your resources, you don't have that, but it also gives the message to the so-called victim that they can't handle it, that they're frail, that they need help. It's not empowering. And the persecutor may know that the victim's doing something that's not helpful, but they kind of blame rather than educate or support.
Right.
And it's called the drama triangle because it keeps us in this unending drama, and it doesn't stop until anyone takes the full and a proper amount of responsibility for the situation, and really watching how do we take our caring and wanting to support and to help, but to do that in a way that's empowering
Right.
to others and not draining for ourselves. And that takes some work, I think, to sort that out.
Well, and one of the things that I try, I don't always, to remember is let them ask
Yeah,
for help.
yeah, right.
And there's it's an insurance, a series of insurance commercials, and they must not have really done their job right because I can't remember the company.
Yeah, good point.
But it's the one where you take on your parents' role, right? And so they're gonna fix everything.
Yeah.
Well, don't they know that shouldn't be in that trash can, or don't they know that they've got 11 items in the 10 item thing,
Right.
and the guy keeps telling them it doesn't matter.
Oh,
And that's so true because we get into that, I'm gonna fix it.
yeah.
And, and it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't, really just doesn't need fixed, right? So
Right,
what if
right.
there's 11 items in the T-chap thing? But yeah, if they don't want that help, all
No.
you're gonna do is cause, all sorts of issues.
Well, and in the drama triangle, if they don't want the help, then you end up rather than being the rescuer, they see you as a persecutor trying to force something on them, and the drama continues. Excuse me. So it really is this whole, we can ask sometimes, there's a perfect thing. You may have heard this in it's in a New York Times article recently too, and reiterated, but there's three things to ask when somebody's got a problem or they're saying whatever, you notice that. And they start with H. Do you want help? Do you want me to hear you? Or do you want a hug? So do you want reassurance? Do you want help? Or do you just want me to listen? and to really find out, to help you or hug. And it's powerful to really see what, because maybe none of the above, but it gives an option where we don't have jump in to help. And when you do see someone's pain and you see what they're doing wrong and you see whatever, it's like, but it's really is, how do you want me to respond, and give them a responsibility to ask for it. And it works in business, it works in parenting, it works in relationships, to really have that way to kind of ask what it is that you really do want
Right.
from the situation.
And kind of on the flip side, it's hard for us to ask for help.
Oh, God. Yes.
I was mentioning in our pre-chat that I work with people who have cancer.
Yeah.
And, people always say, tell us what you need. And that's okay. I know, because and they mean well. They really do mean well.
Yeah.
But I need them to be specific. But
Right.
it's also important for us to ask for help.
Yes.
We're not if they are open to it, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
But yeah, I remember one of the things I needed people to just come and take me for walks. I needed exercise, right?
Lovely.
And
Yeah.
so I posted on Facebook that I needed somebody to come walk me every day. My husband was working, and so I needed somebody to come walk me. And 15 minutes a day. And then, me being me, and I want to lighten it up, right? I said, leash provided.
That was
But
great.
that gave, that allowed me to ask in a way that was okay. And it
Yes.
gave people a way to help. And so I think that's, it's okay for us to ask for help. Sometimes that's the strongest thing we can do.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that you had a sense of humor about it, like, how great. And you got a lot of responses, I assume, as well,
I
right? You
did.
got walkers? Yeah.
And the funny thing was, a lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, we can't." But then
Yeah.
they
Perfect.
and yeah.
Great. But they wanted to, they responded, you get the feedback about it. It is really hard. It's like, and I think it's part of it as a leader, it's like we think we're supposed to have it all handled, we're supposed to do it ourselves, we're gonna be weak
gonna
if we
look
ask for
weak.
help. Yeah, we're gonna be weak, or people are gonna take advantage of us, or they're not gonna think we're capable. There's so many mistaken beliefs we have about it. In our work, we give life assignments. We call it the assignment way of living. It's part of our coaching and our programs, where you're practicing skills like this as you're doing your regular leadership, regular life. But one of the times, so for a week, you're practicing asking for things. Certainly we need more than a week, but it's like it's foremost on your mind. And asking for small things, would you open the door for me? Just getting practice for things, much less really asking people to do what you really need them to do, or your kids to clean their room, or your employees to get the report in on time in the way you need it, or whatever. It's revelatory to see how much, and also what people find is how much people do want to help. Like, and they actually see you as something. And then I read about the Ben Franklin effect. This fascinated me. So Ben Franklin, as you know, was like an amazing ambassador, as well as an inventor and all the other things, in particular, like his time in France. And what he found is that if he asked people for a favor, they actually felt much more warmly toward him and were predisposed to help him later on. So asking someone to help him actually got him more of what he needed in his own, not just what he got in the moment of the favor, but it made them predisposed to be more of an ally later on. And it really bonds us, and we forget the power of that. And overcoming our own mistaken beliefs. We don't have to be the superhero. We don't have to, our job as a leader is to make sure things are done. It doesn't mean we're supposed to do it all.
Right.
And it's a tough one, I think. And one, obviously I've had continually need to learn myself. So
Right.
important.
Well, and of course, then there are certainly ways to ask.
Yeah.
You don't want to make people feel obligated.
Yes,
It's not
right.
it's not a reciprocity thing. You don't want to do the, well, I raised you and I've done all of this, therefore, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's going to happen. But yeah, it's not, we should be able to ask and grant
Yes.
without expecting anything in return.
Beautifully said. And I think it's kind of a key to life, relationships, leadership. It really is that. And I really had to learn myself. Is actually like when I got married to my husband, Bob, and my partner, There's things like I'd go grocery shopping and I'd come home with a car full of groceries and I'm unloading the groceries. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm unloading the groceries." He says, "No, just ask me. I want to come
He
on."
should have known you needed help.
Well, it didn't even occur to me that I deserved help. I had that much work to do about this. It's like, "Oh, I just thought you did everything yourself." He said, "No, no, no, don't." That just like, and he's been delighted to see me increase. He's thrilled to have me ask him because he knows what I've overcome with it, and it makes a huge. How are we going to be successful? How are we really going to lead? How are we going to build businesses or whatever if we really can't ask? It's really an important, and to receive graciously is really an important part of that as well, and not in a needy, cloying way, not in a rescue me way, but just it's part of our rights, and people do want to help us, and we don't often realize. And leash provided or not, they still want to give it a walk.
Right, right,
It's
yeah.
great.
And it is, I think one of the things that happens in all of this is we lose ourselves as that person, and especially if we're a business leader and the business starts taking priority. I see that on like people's LinkedIn profiles where it's all about the business. There's nothing in there about them. And all these things and it's no, we're still that person. And we don't want to lose that. And
Right.
the reason I'm saying this is you did a post on LinkedIn today that stopped me. I mean, and I've got it up here on my screen. And you said, ask her what she wants for the company. It comes easily. Ask her what she wants for herself and watch the answers slow down. So tell us more about that, because that obviously just really intrigued me today.
Yeah, it's very much what I experience with our people in our programs and our coaching because it's like, yeah, what do you want for a company? Boom, boom, boom. That's much clearer. But what do you really want yourself? What do you yearn for? What
Right.
matters to you? And for women particularly because they're so much more aware of what other people need or want and not aware of their own. Although I had another man that it's amazing. We were able to work with this man from before his MBA to all the way through his career to building the #1 ranked e-commerce company in the world. I mean, this was a huge, beautiful success arc for him. And then he recently sold it, and he's really doing beautiful contributions in the world now. But at the beginning of his journey, we asked him, what do you want? No idea, no idea. And then he was getting married. We said, what do you want for the wedding? And he said, whatever my wife wants. I just want her to be happy. Like he knew that, but he had no idea what he really wanted himself. And I was leading a seminar at one point, and I was talking about how important it is to be in touch with what we really want, and even more deeply underneath that, our yearning. And this woman raised her hand. I called on her. She says, "Judith, I think I have a broken wanter." And I totally understood what she meant. It's actually, I just don't know what I want because they're not used to calibrating inside, and yet it's so critical because it's if what we really in the deeper yearnings. I want to underline that for a bit, Deb, if we could. It's like
Yes.
those, and it's what I found at the beginning of this. There's like 6 phases, 6 steps of really becoming who you can become. But more important, this whole life success, really where everything unfolds from that. This is my study of people with great lives and finding that. But if you really look at it, we all have those same yearnings underneath. And we touched briefly, but let me say what some of those are. It's like, we yearn to love and be loved. We yearn to be seen, heard, known, understood. We yearn to matter. We yearn to be valued. We yearn to connect and to belong, to be intimate and to be close. We yearn to fulfill our purpose. These things are every single human being has that. And if we look, so sometimes we don't even know what we want. And then sometimes what we want doesn't fulfill that deeper yearning. And that's another level of it because we might want that external success, which is fine, but oftentimes it doesn't meet that deeper yearning. We want that, thinking that's going to satisfy and fulfill us, and it often doesn't. The positive psychologists call that miswanting. It's mistakenly thinking that if we achieve this, do this, buy this, have this, then we'll be happy. And no, or it's very short-lived with that. But if we really are fueled by that deeper sense, and asking, and in the instance with that social media post, when I really ask women, what do they yearn for deep inside, they can get to that because it's these deeper values. And then we can look at, okay, what could you fill your days with? What are things you could do or be with that would actually resonate with that deeper yearning? they can get it then. Somehow that helps, because those things, they do have a bigger sense of what really matters to them. It's just haven't given themselves permission sometimes to touch that and to really look, oh, wow, what if I were really, oh, I really do yearn to make a difference, to be seen, to be valued. What can I do in the consonance with that? And there's very simple things I could do in this moment, in my next meeting, in that next interaction, to really fulfill that. It's a training ground.
Right, right. And we see so much dysfunction.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of celebrities and sports people, right, who
Yeah.
have it all, right? The way, and I mean, one of the most recent ones is Britney Spears, poor Britney. And I mean, she was arrested not long ago for DUI, and or Tiger Woods. I mean, we see them, and of course the problem is we as society put them up on that pedestal.
Right.
And then, and in many cases, people take great delight in watching them come crashing off of that pedestal, and social does not help that.
Right.
But, I think I think many times we weren't raised to really be kind of thinking about what do we want, because that could be selfish.
Yeah.
And we, and we were raised to be giving. I mean, so it's a hard, thing to kind of meld those together.
It is that, and all of us have mistaken beliefs from our own backgrounds and whatever. It's a part of human nature. But Alfred Adler is a psychologist, a contemporary of Freud, and he said that, we all have these. He called them apperceptions. These just kind of the mistaken beliefs about ourselves, about the world, what the world expects from us, what we expect from the world, and he said everybody has that. It's not just me, whatever. And he's the one that he has the inferiority complex is one of his terms. And he said, everybody has an inferiority complex. And if you think somebody doesn't have it, you just don't know them well enough.
Right. They might be really pretty good at hiding it.
Right. But we all do. We have that sense. And there's oftentimes a sense of non-deservingness or not worthiness, or that I'm not
The
valuable.
imposter complex.
Yes, totally. And that gets in the way of feeling like we have the right, or that it's our birthright, or deserving. Or some people overcompensate and have the superiority complex, but that still is an aching void inside too. It's just our way of coping either side of that.
Right.
And that's part of what we're talking about, is we have to kind of know that we're valuable and that we really do deserve, and that our wants are really important, particularly the ones that are going to help us meet those deeper yearnings. In fact, there's two different pleasure centers of our brain. That was fascinating, the neuroscience of it, Deb, that on the one hand, we have the wanting center, and that's our cravings, actually. I want some coffee right now. I want to scroll on my phone. I want a designer dress. I want whatever that is in the moment, that kind of craving part, that seeking. It has a good, healthy part. We're seeking something, but it's also fueled by dopamine. So we're kind of like doped up when we do that, when we get high, but that's a very short-lived fuel. So even if we get what we want, if it's that level, it doesn't fulfill us, because there's no satiation built into that center, that pleasure center.
Right. You drank your cup of coffee.
And now, okay, I was high for a second. Now I want another one, or I need to do something else, or I need a cookie to go with it, whatever goes. The other pleasure center, I call it the yearning center. The neuroscientists call it the satisfaction center, the liking center. That's different. It does have satiation built into it. It's more fueled by the neurotransmitters of opioids. So it has that bliss, more that sense of satisfaction. And it's a long-lived fuel. It really can be there. And we so often, both things, we don't know what we want, nor do we know what we yearn for. So we're not getting either that little motivational boost or that deeper sense of satisfaction. But when we can recalibrate, and even kind of translate our cravings, like even we may not know what we want, but we also know I got to have Starbucks now, I have to, like, whatever. Underneath that is it's our system trying to tell us that there's something deeper for us. So we're checking Facebook, we're yearning for something. Is it connection, or to feel like that we matter, or if it's a sense of socialization for us, a sense of really belonging? There's something underneath that, and finding the ways to meet that is really important. Right. Another piece of my work, and it's one of my other books, The Soft Addiction Solution. Really, we coined that term, soft addictions, those things that we go to that we think we want, and we do in the moment,
Right.
but they don't really satisfy us. And how do we recalibrate toward those? They know that we deserve it, recalibrate toward the things that really matter, and know that that's the path for us to follow. And when we do, it's really fulfilling and satisfying, and we're activating that satisfaction center, that yearning center.
Right. And all of this is tied into emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And we hear about IQ, and things like that. But we're not in tune with ourselves. And I am curious, is this a worldwide type of thing, or more here in the States and other places? And
Good
I don't know
question.
why I thought of that just now. But
No,
it was
I often wonder that are there cultural differences? There are some cultural differences with it, but I've had the opportunity to be with people all over the world. And in fact, I have a couple of books out in China right now. And actually, the couple's book is had been a number one nonfiction bestseller. And the Soft Addictions book was in the top 10. So there's a hunger for what we're talking about. But it's kind of universal. Sometimes some cultures are a little more comfortable with one feeling than another, but it's pretty universal. We are not that well developed in our emotional intelligence. And I like to add our emotional facility, our ability to be. And we have people that come to us from, we're kind of known for our emotional intelligence curriculum in our work. And we have people who are experts in the field that come to us to have the experience of them because they know it here, but that's not the same as knowing it here, in your heart. So we haven't been really trained in our emotions. We think they're bad. We try to stuff them, numb them, drug them, drink them away.
We're selfish. We're whatever.
Yeah, something's wrong. And no, they're beautiful. The problem isn't our emotions. The problem is we haven't known how to be with them and how to really use their profound wisdom that really needed. And that's part of my journey. I had to learn to really wow, my feelings matter. And what's so, you can tell I'm a researcher too, Deb, because I think of all these people studying these things, but every emotion has an adaptive action tendency, meaning that every emotion has within it what we need in order to deal with that emotion. It's like when you're afraid, your body responds to be able to run or to fight or to freeze, if that's it has that wisdom in it. And if we don't have that emotional facility, we don't have access to this rich, beautiful part of our wisdom. We also don't have access then to our yearnings because you have to feel it to really be feeling that the ache of it or what it is, or feeling the satisfaction. And without that emotional facility, we can't really connect to one another. Ideas are fun to share, whatever, but we connect through our heart and our feelings. And as leaders, emotional intelligence is turning out to be like the research is profound. The difference that makes. In top leadership positions, over 4/5 of our success is our emotional intelligence.
Right.
It's not just our IQ.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right.
Well, and one of the things that I think we've seen that is fortunately finally changing is the fact that it's all right for a male leader or someone who has more masculine tendencies to feel empathy.
Yes.
And and yeah, we all get caught up in things and all of that, but just to go, wow, I understand what you're going and mean.
Yes, and mean.
Not to just say, yeah, I understand what you're going.
No, but to really feel it, to sense that, to have that empathy is so critical. And there's a whole field now of interpersonal neurobiology and Dan Siegel and others really looking at how our relationships form us and how that makes a difference. And Dan Siegel uses this term to feel felt by another person. And that's, we want to feel felt by them. You don't want lip service. You want to know that somebody, and because it meets those deeper yearnings. Oh, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm felt, I'm understood. That's profound. And that's very powerful. And for leaders to have that, have that for themselves and to be able to have that presence is really, really important. Because if we're in touch with our feelings, we're in touch with our yearnings and know what that is, we can more actively touch the hearts and minds of those that we lead. And that's what makes our leadership powerful when we can do.
Right. And of course, all of this goes back to our childhood, right?
Yeah.
Did we have parents who hugged us, who told us we were great? Or were they more distant for whatever reason? My mother, she and I did not really see eye to eye. And more than anything, I think we were too similar. But anyhow, that's what my husband would say. But she passed away a couple years ago. And I actually had come to the realization that she and I were just not going to see eye to eye. Wasn't anything against her. It wasn't anything against me. But at the funeral, I had several people come up to me and say, she was so proud of you.
Oh,
And I, of course, thanked them. But my thought was,
yeah.
why the heck couldn't
Why
she
did
tell
you
me
tell me?
that?
Gosh.
And I think that's probably part of this too is, I've on the wall behind me, grateful.
Yeah.
We have to tell people,
Yeah.
that we value them. We don't read minds. We
I
like to
know.
think we do.
I know.
But yeah, just tell them thank you. Tell them you love them.
Yeah.
I was interviewed as a guest on someone's podcast last week, and this was the funniest thing. He said he tells people, total strangers, that he loves them.
Oh,
And he said, his wife keeps saying you're going to get arrested. He does it in a way
yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
not a creepy, weird way.
Right.
And he said, why can't we say that?
Yeah.
And I love that. And of course we ended with, I love you. And it's not love you,
Absolutely.
man.
No, I
Right?
know,
It's,
right, like,
I
from the
love you
heart.
and I appreciate you.
Yes.
But yeah, if we didn't grow up
No,
having that,
it's
then
true.
it's very hard to develop it.
It really is, and most of us did not have an ideal, background in that because we don't have a society that's that trained. Your mother didn't have it, her mother didn't
Yeah,
have it,
I
it
mean,
wasn't there.
and baby boomers, I think, are
Yeah.
very different than and the funny thing is, I think baby boomers have raised their millennial kids, giving them that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we knew it was missing. Now I don't have kids, but we knew it
right.
was missing in our lives, so we were going to make sure that our kids felt it.
Yes, and which and created some other issues as we
Right.
overcompensate sometimes too, but it is really important. And it is that in fact the studies show those very early years that when we're being seen or cuddled or interacted with or whatever, that's actually the beginning of our emotional regulation. So to your point, if we're soothed and comforted when we're upset, we build the neurochemicals of down regulating, of soothing. If we're not, we don't have that, and we have to take responsibility of adults to go fill that in, which I see is a big part of our job, but we developed this aspect of emotional facility. It's the in, out, up, down model, and because the in is, can we feel our feelings? Are we aware of the bodily signals that we're having them? Do we know what they are? Can we name them? That inner aspect of it. The out is, can we express them fully, responsibly, congruently? Let it show on our faces to let that out. That down regulating, and when we're upset, can we soothe ourselves, not suppress ourselves? Can we
Right.
comfort
Feel
ourselves?
it.
Feel it and really be with that. And the upregulate is to really actually savor the good more fully, to have our energy more available, to engage in life, to have that. And those early neurochemicals come from the early life, and we didn't get it. We have to develop it, and we can. And I did have more of the in and down. I could feel, I was sensitive and I could kind of hold my feelings. I had to really learn how to express them and to really let that show and to really have my energy more available. We each have a different journey, but when we do develop that, it's like the richness. I mean, I feel moved by it as I talk about it now, the richness of life. When we have to feel life, it's something to experience. Really have that birthright of really being, and our feelings are not something to be ashamed of or to be hidden. They're actually gifts. When we have the skill, they're actually
Right.
beautiful aspects of our wisdom and connection. And we just have around the world, we have this issue to really learn this.
And it includes the negative emotions.
Of course.
And I think that's the other thing is sometimes we think, well, we shouldn't feel
Yeah.
anger. We shouldn't feel guilt.
No.
We shouldn't feel jealousy. Right? No. I
No.
mean, those things are what propel us. Okay, well, if I'm jealous of what you have,
Yep.
then what do I need to do
To
to
fix.
get that or whatever it is?
Yes.
You know.
Beautifully said, Deb. It's so right. In fact, we deal with 5 major feelings because everything else kind of a combination, that fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. And when you can get to that, it's so powerful. And we say there's no negative emotions. There's some that don't feel good, but
Right. Yeah.
they're
You're
not
like,
negative. Yeah, I don't like the feeling of it, but it really is a powerful emotion. Sadness is a loss of a pleasure. Hurt is something that happens in relationship when our yearnings aren't met. There's data under each of the feelings. And if we know that, can be with that, that's really a ticket to a rich, full life, a whole-bodied, whole life kind
Right.
of.
Right. And we see people who they don't feel those things.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll look at them and we'll realize, hey, there's something off. is
Yeah.
maybe the best way to put it. And and it is because they're suppressing that, or they're overdoing it.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
sometimes if we think we're supposed to stuff our feelings down, if we stuff them, sometimes when they come up, it's a toxic dump when it comes out. So that's an issue. And also when we suppress our feelings, we don't just suppress our feelings. Or if you suppress one, you suppress all.
right.
So, and also what happens
And
is it
we've seen people who are just, I mean, you talked about it earlier, that shell.
Yep, yep. And I was more that way too. I had a rich inner life in a way, but it wasn't out there in a way. And anytime we try to suppress our feelings, what the neuroscience research shows now is that it actually degrades our cortical resources. It drains energy. It takes away. It does not help us. And in fact, it degrades our decision making and our memory. So we really do need our emotions for productivity, for decision making, for it's for our rational thinking is actually dependent on feelings. We've so often tried to separate that, and that's not the ticket.
Right. Yeah, and when we, get caught up in it, that's then where we have things like PTSD.
Yeah.
And and I mean, obviously there are very valid reasons for people to have PTSD.
Of course.
But sometimes it's that they don't know how to express that.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Or the people who are the serial daters, the serial, I mean, I have friends who have been married, multiple times. And again, they're searching for that. And what they're searching for is for that other person to fulfill them.
Yeah, that I wish that worked, but that is not, you complete me. No, you complete you. And then if you want to add someone to your life, then that's okay. But yeah, we can't find it. Being in relationship, does not bring us happiness. We have a happiness set point and it'll go right back to where it was because it's an inside job. It really is something for us. And beautifully though, we can't skills are. And thank goodness we can develop that, but we need to in order to really have a sense of a satisfying, fulfilled life and have that deep connection with ourselves, our deeper yearnings, be able to connect with others, to be able to lead from to really touch minds and hearts of others is really such a key aspect of our leadership.
Right. And the people that we see that do that well really are incredible. I read in your bio, one of the people that one of the programs you were on was Oprah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, but she felt,
Yeah.
maybe the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And but how many people went, oh, she cried, oh, she did,
That's true.
and it's because they can't feel that,
Yeah,
or they
right.
feel that there's something wrong with it.
Well, just think about when we were kids and we're crying, so what's wrong? Well, maybe
Yes.
nothing's wrong. I'm just
You
having
have to be
feeling,
tough. Why are you
Yeah,
doing
right.
that? And especially if you're a little boy, right?
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
Big boys don't cry, big boy, buck up, whatever. No, it really is. It's a sign of strength when we know how to be with it and to not, if we're not comfortable with our own feelings, it's hard to be comfortable with others. And so we will more likely judge that or make that wrong because it's hard for us. And the same it's what's difficult in parenting. If parents aren't in touch with their own feelings, it's hard to be there with their children. And that's how these whole patterns start to develop. But as we could develop our own comfort with our emotions, we have a lot more space for others, a lot more empathy, a lot more understanding, and a lot more richness of our own lives.
Right. And it is okay to feel bad.
Yes.
I think that's the other thing that so many times people get caught up in. Like people will tell me, "Oh, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor."
Yeah.
And so many people say, "Oh, you're always so upbeat." And I say, "No, I'm not."
No.
Right? Now when I'm doing something like this, yes, right?
Yeah.
And things, but and one of my greatest goals in life is to always make my doctors laugh because they got really, really hard jobs, right?
Oh,
I mean,
well
one of my
said.
doctors makes me come in as the last appointment of the day so that I can, because she has hard days, and so I make her
Oh,
laugh.
beautiful. That's a high compliment, Deb. That was
Oh, I know.
beautiful.
I was very honored by that. I
That's
thought that was,
great.
but we also, there are down times.
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm not all, and of course my husband bears the brunt of when it's not a good day, but we also have to be honest with that.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "How are you doing?" and you say, "Fine,"
Yeah.
I tell people that's a bad word. I don't like that word.
I'm with you.
Mhm. Yeah, be
You know,
honest and tell them
yeah.
I'm doing good, or today's not really a good day.
I'm having a tough day
Right,
today.
right.
Whatever's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you can determine how to go further.
Right.
One of the things that so many people told me was they didn't know what to say, and they still don't. They don't know what to say to me. Or, if somebody has experienced loss or whatever, we don't want them to feel bad, so we don't mention it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a gentleman one time who had lost a child at a fairly young age, which I cannot imagine that. I mean, that is one of probably the biggest grief things that can happen to somebody. And I told him, I said, I'm really sorry. Tell me a little bit more about him. And it just took him back. And he said, most people will not acknowledge it at all. He said, and it's like he didn't exist.
Oh, wow.
And, so you can say, I'm really sorry that happened. Then they get to choose
Yes.
how they're going to go forward. They might just say thank you,
Right.
or they might say something more. But yeah, it is okay to feel the
Yeah.
ups and the downs.
Absolutely. It's more than okay. It's
Mhm.
healthy, it's good, it's life, it's real, and we need that from one another to really be able to know. That's how we become authentic. It's how we're, like, genuine rather than, like, acting as if things aren't bothering us, and then providing, as you're saying, providing the space for others. And what you're saying, it's an invitation. People can respond how they choose to, but the space is there should they wish to go into it more. You don't cut it off, cut and run
Right,
at that
right.
point. Beautiful.
Well, oh my gosh, Dr. Wright, we've just scratched the surface on this. And so I definitely want to have you on again. And I think it's
Alright.
really important because the world is a little bumpy right now.
Here, here. Here, here.
And I mean, that's okay. One of the things I tell people, I'm not going to get terribly upset about some of this because it will change. But it is, how can we get through it and not expect, others to fix it and all those things. So I definitely want you on again. But for people who are going, okay, Dr. Wright, I need to know more. How do people find you and what are the services that you provide?
Great, thank you. And go to our website, which is LiveWright with a W, WRIGHT, livewright.com. And we provide coaching, a whole life coaching, but executive coaching, but also personal relationship coaching, what people need, we can pretty much know how to respond to that. And we also have programs where what we love is to be able to give people the skills, not just be the expert, but here's what we know, here's the skills, and you can go practice that. So we have wonderful training programs, and we do consulting, and love to do that. And we've been very blessed with the people we've been able to work with, and the results have been so beautiful. So I really would love to offer that out to as many people as possible. So if any of you are listening and would like support in the journeys that we're talking about, it would be our privilege to be able to do that. So just contact us at www.livewright.com and contact us, and we'll make sure that we serve you if it's appropriate fit.
Perfect. I love it. And we will have your LinkedIn profile in the
Great.
show notes, as well as the link to LiveWright. So people can easily go there. But yeah, this really has been just absolutely delightful. And I think, like I said, people need this.
Yeah.
It's a rough, bumpy time right now, and we'll get through it. But how are we going to get through it?
I'm with you, and we can get through it, and we need each other, we need skills to do that, and it's appropriate for us to support one another with that, and it's so great being with you, Deb. Thanks for this beautiful journey that we've
Well,
been
thank you.
discussing.
Well, as I said, we'll have you on again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
What's coming from me right this moment is to really, for all of us to know that we really deserve to live beautiful, fulfilling lives. It is our birthright, and we shouldn't settle for less. And maybe we need to learn some things and get some support or help to do that. But it really is our right to have a full felt life where we have access to have our emotions, to be able to have that deep contact and to follow our deepest yearnings, because we all deserve to be seen, heard, known, to belong, to connect, to matter. And reflecting back what you were saying, Deb, and with the podcast you did, so really that yearning we all have to love and be loved. So I'm hoping everybody can feel this as a love note, as an appreciation, and as I have for you, Deb, and I appreciate the time together.
Well, thank you so much. This really has been so much fun. I've, enjoyed getting to know Dr. Judith Wright. She is the CEO and co-founder of LiveWright, multiple author, all sorts of things. So find all of that information. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.